A dark encounter. The city was plunged into darkness as a severe storm swept through, knocking out power to countless homes. I was in the middle of getting ready for bed when the lights flickered and died, leaving me stranded in my apartment, enveloped by an inky blackness. I fumbled for my phone, hoping to use its flashlight, and thankfully, it still had some power left. Grateful for the illumination, I made my way to the bathroom, my phone serving as my beacon of light. As I prepared for my shower, I heard a noise from outside my apartment. It sounded like someone was trying to get in. My heart pounded in my chest as I strained to listen. The doorknob rattled, followed by a loud bang. "Sarah, open up!" a raspy voice shouted from the other side of the door. "I know you're in there." I froze, my mind racing. Sarah? Who was Sarah? I had never lived in this apartment before. I had just moved in a few days ago. I decided to stay silent, hoping that if I didn't make a sound, the intruder would leave. I held my breath, my ears perked up, listening for any further movement. The man continued to pound on the door, his voice growing louder and more agitated. "Don't make me come in there," he threatened. I remained still, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't know what to do. I was trapped in my apartment, and this stranger was determined to get in. With trembling hands, I managed to dial 911 on my phone, using the last bit of battery power. I spoke in a hushed whisper, explaining the situation to the operator. As I spoke to the operator, the man outside my apartment grew increasingly frustrated. He started shouting, angrily tripping over and kicking things. His rage echoed through the hallways, sending a chill down my spine. The police arrived within minutes, sirens wailing in the storm-ravaged night. The intruder, alerted by the sirens, made a hasty escape, disappearing into the darkness. The police searched the apartment, but they didn't find any sign of the man. They assured me that they would continue to look for him, but they didn't have much hope of finding him in the storm. The apartment building owner arrived shortly after, his face etched with concern. I told him about the intruder, and he expressed his shock and disbelief. He told me that he had never heard of anyone named Sarah living in the apartment. The night ended in a haze of fear and confusion. I was left shaken and alone, my mind replaying the terrifying events that had unfolded. The image of the man's menacing figure lurking in the darkness would forever be etched in my memory.
The Unseen Presence. Sarah and Emily, two friends seeking a break from the city's monotony, found themselves drawn to the tranquil charm of a secluded beach town. They rented a charming cottage, nestled amidst lush greenery, just a stone's throw from the sandy shores. Their days were filled with sun-kissed moments, refreshing swims, and leisurely explorations of the town's hidden gems. The evenings were cozy and intimate, filled with shared stories and laughter around the crackling fireplace. One stormy night, as the wind howled and rain lashed against the windows, the power abruptly cut out, plunging the cottage into darkness. Undeterred, Sarah and Emily decided to turn the darkness into an opportunity for spooky storytelling, gathering around the flickering candlelight. Their voices hushed as they recounted tales of haunted houses and supernatural encounters. Suddenly, Sarah noticed a faint glow emanating from an upstairs room, a room they had never dared to enter. The door, always locked shut, was now standing slightly ajar, revealing a sliver of light. Curiosity piqued, Sarah and Emily exchanged hesitant glances, their hearts pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. With trembling hands, they pushed the door open, the flickering candlelight casting long, ominous shadows across the room. The room was dimly lit, filled with old, dusty furniture that seemed to absorb the light, creating an atmosphere of gloom and mystery. As their eyes adjusted to the darkness, they found the room empty, devoid of any figure or presence. A sense of relief washed over them, and they decided to close the door, dismissing the strange glow as a trick of the light. However, as they gathered around the fireplace once more, a sense of unease lingered. They couldn't shake off the feeling that something wasn't right. Later that night, while they were asleep, they were awakened by a chilling sound, a slow, deliberate creak that echoed through the silent house. Their hearts pounding, they sat up in bed, their eyes darting around the dark room. The creaking sound grew louder, closer, and they realized it was coming from the upstairs room. With trembling hands, they reached for their flashlights, breaths catching in their throats. As they cautiously approached the door, the creaking stopped abruptly, replaced by an eerie silence. They exchanged nervous glances, their hands gripping their flashlights tightly. With a deep breath, they pushed the door open, the beam of their flashlights cutting through the darkness. The room was once again empty, but something had changed. The door had slowly closed behind them, as if guided by an unseen force. A wave of fear washed over them, and they decided to leave the house immediately. They packed their belongings in a hurry, their hands shaking as they gathered their things. As they drove away from the cottage, the storm still raging around them, they couldn't shake off the feeling that they had been watched, that something sinister had lurked within the walls of that old house. The memory of the glowing door and the self-closing door would forever haunt their dreams, a chilling reminder of their encounter with the unknown. The man in the dark. I lay in bed, trying to fall asleep. The night seemed ordinary, a peaceful facade that concealed the impending terror. Curled up in my usual position under my blankets, a sudden wave of heat washed over me, accompanied by an unsettling feeling of dread. Startled, I sat up and peered into the impenetrable darkness of my room. A cold realization hit me. The power outage had plunged everything into obscurity. With a trembling hand, I reached for my phone, seeking solace in its glow, only to be met with the ominous blackness of its unresponsive screen. I was trapped in isolation. Anxiety tightened its grip as my imagination conjured up shadows and unseen terrors lurking in the inky void. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the erratic rhythm of my pounding heart. Then he materialized, a tall, dark figure standing silently in the corner of my room. His presence loomed, cloaked in darkness, and his eyes glowed with an eerie crimson light. Fear paralyzed me. I was a captive audience to this mysterious intruder. As he approached, an icy aura accompanied him, suffocating the room. My mind raced, haunted by the unknown intentions of this spectral figure. The prospect of impending harm loomed large. Just as despair threatened to consume me, the man spoke with an unexpected calmness, dispelling the anticipated threat. "Relax," he said, his words cutting through the tension. In that moment, confusion mingled with relief, leaving me grappling with the enigma before me. Without a word, the man turned and vanished into the abyss. I remained in stunned silence, my eyes fixed on the spot where he had stood. Shaken, I struggled to comprehend the surreal encounter, grappling with the reality of the situation. Gathering my courage, I dialed the police. Their arrival brought a futile search for the enigmatic man, leaving my room devoid of answers. The mystery persisted, lingering in the unresolved shadows. Despite the passage of time, the events of that night remained etched in my memory. The man's purpose eluded me, leaving a lingering unease that clung to the recesses of my consciousness. The dark, once a familiar realm, now held a veiled menace, and the specter's cryptic visitation ensured that my unease persisted long after the night had passed.